Hi, I'm Victor Lambs, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about hidden meanings, deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. Joining me today are Father Cory Sticha. Hello, Father.
Howdy, Victor.
And Jeff Haecker. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Victor.
Jack couldn't be with us today as he is busy tending livestock in Cheyenne Mountain. And of course, that is a reference because today we are talking about the 9th episode of Season 1 of Stargate SG1.
Season what?
Season 8, sorry. Flipping back and forth between Atlantis, my script gets a little messed up. Today we are talking about the 9th episode of Season 8 of Stargate SG1, Sacrifices. In this episode, Teal'c finds himself in a bit of a pickle when he discovers that his son Rya'c is getting hitched to Karen from the Hactol. Teal'c isn't exactly thrilled about this union, especially since he's not a fan of the Hactol's plan to overthrow the Goa'uld Mawwiage, or Moloch, or Moloch. Yeah. Meanwhile, Ishta, the leader of the Hactol, is dealing with her own set of problems, including a possible traitor in her ranks. Things get even more complicated when Ishta, her rebel Jaffa, and their livestock have to evacuate their base and seek refuge at the SGC. Teal'c, being the protective dad that he is, decides to go on a mission with Ishta to help the Hactol, but he ends up getting ambushed by Moloch's forces. Thankfully, he's saved by the fellow rebel Aaron, who looks strangely familiar, who proves that he's not the traitor after all. In the end, the Hactol and the SGC manage to defeat Moloch after Teal'c and Ishta put aside their differences and work together to save the day. As for Rya'c and Karen, well, let's just say their honeymoon plans may need a little bit of tweaking. Anyways, what did you think of this episode, Father Cory?
Well, it's an episode. T'Pol's back, and yeah, Rya'c's back, and there was a horse in SGC. I'm not really a big fan of this one. Seeing the horse running through the halls of SGC was kind of amusing, but beyond that, it's okay.
How about you, Jeff? What did you think?
Yeah, actually, on rewatch, I did really enjoy this one. It had a good mix of humor and action, and I forgot how much they pack into the episode because you have the whole storyline of Rya'c and Kareen, and then you have the whole storyline on Moloch's planet. So just a lot packed in, and I really felt for Rya'c being kind of having to be really put upon to kind of keep everybody in line, and but it had a lot of good humor and good action, and it's a bummer this is the last time we see Ishta and Rya'c in the show, but overall I enjoyed it. So and the horse in the SGC was funny, and I was thinking like they couldn't have done just one horse ride through the gate or something, come charging charging the other Jaffa or something, but I'm sure that would have been over budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kareen. I said Karen. I
thought it was pronounced Karen, but
well, I think it's probably Kareen and
Karen
or Karen. Yeah, and it just goes to show that like these characters don't come back. I like this episode. I actually didn't remember this one at all. I vaguely remembered that Moloch died in like a very, kind of tossed off or simple way. I think, but
laser guided missile is a pretty simple way to die.
Well, yeah. I mean, they didn't make a big deal out of it like they did with some of the other Goa'ulds and stuff. But I actually like this one. I forgot that it was a really good Rya'c episode. I think watch this one for the Rya'c humor. There's a lot of really good Rya'c humor, but Christopher Judge wrote this episode, wrote it initially as a comedy based around the wedding, which was going to be off base, but of course that would have been too expensive. So they had everybody come onto the base, including the livestock. And we were talking beforehand that his working title for this was My Big Fat Jaffa Wedding, which got shot down early on in the scripting process. But what we do get there is a lot going on here. We get, the wedding, we get the wedding rehearsal, and then we get the intrigue and stuff off world as well too. So it's better than I remembered. I didn't remember it at all. So there you go.
I agree with the Rya'c humor. I love it where he's doing the practice, the rehearsal for the wedding And when they're done arguing, he just grabs the wine and just starts chugging.
Yeah. Yeah, if you've ever had to suffer through a wedding rehearsal, especially your own, it's just
Oh, they're bad enough when you're a priest, believe me.
Oh my good. Oh, that's right. You have to do all of them, don't you?
Pretty usually.
Oh man. Yeah. So very relatable moment there, I imagine. Spray Tech is the officiating, but yeah. And we do get to see the wedding at the end, though. When Rya'c and Corinne reconcile, we do get to see the wedding at the end, and they've done up the gate room very nicely with a lot of really cool decorations.
Yeah, it's a good thing there was no off-world activation during the wedding.
Yeah.
That could have soured it pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, they actually noted on the commentary that would have been very ill-timed if there had been.
Quick, move everything out of the way.
Yeah, close the iris.
You can headcanon that they shut the gate off for these ceremonies or something. They just unplug it for the
Yeah.
Yeah, does the gate have an off switch? That's a good question. And could they use that when Apophis is trying to, or Kronos is trying to blow them up?
Yeah, of course they made it canon that it's the outgoing gate that powers the both gates.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's whichever gate was sending into SGC turns it on. But yeah, maybe they programmed into the after the attacks through the gate, they programmed into the dialing computer a way to stop that. Maybe.
Yeah. But of course the big draw of this episode is and we'll get to Christopher Judge's brother in just a minute, but is the horse. We get to see a horse walking through the hallways of the of the SGC. And none of the extras were allowed to touch the horse, but Richard Dean Anderson was allowed to kind of, pet the horse as it went by.
That's funny.
And the hallway is a little too short for the scene, though, because if you watch that scene where the horse is walking down the hallway, it kind of turns the quarter, and then the back end of the horse is still just kind of sticking out into the hallway because...
Well, and that's it kind of puts to scale the size of those hallways too, because you know how big the horse is. And that horse didn't leave a lot of room next to it.
No, it really didn't. But several takes with that, and then in that same scene you have the Hochtel children playing jacks, on the floor and stuff, and people walking by. So
kind of reminded of Atlantis when when they first came to the city there, where it was full of kids running around and everything. Kind of similar look, although for a much shorter period of time.
And at the very start of this episode, we get a callback to one of my favorite kind of recurring visual gags, which is the Steadicam operator walking. O'Neill and somebody is walking towards him as they take many turns through at first it was the Tok'ra base. I think there's another one where they're on a Gould mothership. And usually at some point, O'Neill is walking and the person he's walking with turns off and goes another way, or O'Neill turns off and goes another way and the other person has to catch up with him. We start with Daniel and O'Neill walking in this one. And in this time, O'Neill turns off and goes the wrong way and has to run and catch up with Daniel. So again, another really nice scene at the beginning. There's, Michael Shanks has some really good kind of facial acting in that early scene as well. Worth watching a couple times just for that.
Yeah.
There was a good scene too when Rya'c and Corinne when they all first get there and he's standing next to Carter and Rya'c says, "Where'd you be betrothed?" And I think I can't remember if it's Daniel puts his arm around Carter or the other way around, but they put their arm, one of them puts their arm around each other and he's just like, "Oh, wedding, how nice." Like just kind of.
Yeah, exactly. The last thing O'Neill wants on the base.
Yeah.
And Neil Dennis, who plays Rya'c, he brought his sister to the set, and so one of the Hochtel extras is actually his sister. And in a couple scenes, she's standing right behind him, and there is a very strong familiar resemblance there. So
cool.
But not the only family member who was brought to the set this time. Teal'c's Christopher Judge's brother, Jeff Judge, was in this episode as well as Aaron or Aaron. I kept thinking of that
You done messed up, Aaron.
Yeah, exactly. You done messed up, Aaron. Yeah, when because again, like the cast members are not consistent on how they pronounce Mawwiage through this episode, and even Aaron, I think, gives them a little, or Aaron gives them some trouble.
But by this time, they haven't consistently figured out how to pronounce Gould or Gold or Gold.
Yeah, it's especially noticeable in this episode.
But that I think that makes it a little bit more realistic, maybe, or human, because we don't always pronounce other people's names the same either. So,
yeah, that's right.
Well, even my last name, I've heard so many variations on Sticha and Sticha and Sticha, and so.
Now I'm self-conscious about how I've been pronouncing it.
No worries. Figure out which one it is.
Yeah.
No.
But so originally this episode was supposed to be far more comedic, I think, than it was. It was supposed to center more around the wedding, but we do go off world because I think Ishta needs to meet with the Jaffa she's big on like wiping Mawwiage out now because Mawwiage is wiping out the Hactol, and rather than waiting for the Rebel Jaffa and SGC to kind of do their master plan and take out all the Gould at once. And so, but they're ambushed in actually a pretty good firefight scene. They're in this kind of tent. And usually when they're on location, the exterior will be of the tent on location. Then when they're inside the tent, that's in the studio. But for this one, actually, the interior scenes were actually shot inside the tent on location. Cool. Yeah, and so you get like some really good staff weapon blasts going through the tent, and that's kind of what I have behind me there.
Yep. Well, and of course, Teal'c realized something going on, and get down. Ishta gets down. All the other Jaffa are like, huh? What? Oh,
yeah.
It's like everybody else gets shot. But...
Yeah, why do I have a squib in my chest that's about to go off? Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
But yeah, so it's actually a pretty cool scene. But Teal'c doesn't know if he can trust Aaron or we'll call him Aaron, I guess. And also the Trutonin canisters are broken. Yes. They should make those out of plexiglass or something rather than
or like a metal canister or something.
Yeah.
Like I understand wanting to have the little, viewfinder where you can see how much you got left, but don't make it out of glass, especially, really fragile glass. Make it out of Gorilla Glass or something.
Exactly.
But of course, you got to have that because you got to have the scene where they're both weak and I'm out and I need to fly the drone and eject.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that idea. Of course, then if he doesn't catch it, then it would break and they'd be back to square one. But
exactly.
But it doesn't matter because the thing crashes anyways.
Yeah, and they always run out of Trutonin whenever it's Teal'c and somebody else when they're off planet on a mission and like, oh no, we forgot the Trutonin. It's like, plan your missions and take one right as you go in through the gate and
take an extra injector, or at least an extra vial.
Yeah, I'm not very clear on like how often they need to take Trutonin because we've seen Teal'c in other situations and he's not like continuously juicing up,
Well, I thought they had said one time it was like once or twice a day or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so Jeff, you're probably right. Like just like go like take it before you go through the gate and you'll be fine.
Yep.
But they don't really get like weak. At one point it's like Ishta's like, I'm very weak. But she does get the Trutonin, so maybe that's how she fakes out the Jaffa at the end. But
we see Teal'c kind of struggling too, but not, again, kind of more like dragging than he was actually like, I'm going to pass out,
Yeah. So obviously there's a traitor in the ranks. I think we kind of find out who it is, but they don't get a name. It's not Aaron, who turns out to be trustworthy. So we'll see him again. Mm-hmm. But Mawwiage actually shows up. And he's kind of a disappointment, personally.
He's kind of blah.
Yeah.
Not really all that interesting of a character.
Yeah.
So I do like the way they took him out. Let's see if your force shields can handle 2 laser guided missiles blowing up on your location. Can you handle that? Didn't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of like comes across as like a Stephen King, like, whenever there's an old lady in a Stephen King story and she's always like, you are the devil, you're bad, he's just, it's like, what? This isn't like Moloch's deal, He's supposed to be this incredibly evil ghoul, but he just seems kind of
an average evil ghoul.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so I guess I'm glad that he got taken out so easily.
Yeah, I guess he's just kind of like a comic booky evil. Like he's kind of almost mustache twirling and and then he's got the crazy, I'm going to burn female children alive and stuff. And so it's kind of, fitting that he dies in fire. From the missiles,
which we don't see. Us watching.
Yeah, you see the laser sight. Of course, just a standard laser pen light, like you can buy at Staples or wherever. And you see the laser dot on his chest, and then you see the missiles turning towards him, and that was it.
Yeah,
and he tries to brush it off.
Yeah,
like he doesn't know what a laser dot is.
Yeah, and we see the recycled footage from a previous episode of the missiles going through the gate. And swooping upwards and stuff. And I was watching this, and our 11-year-old was like, what? We don't get to see the explosion. We don't even get to see the crater. It's like, nope. But they were definitely in kind of cost conservation mode at this point. But there was one thing that they did do that they don't usually do, and that was have an exterior night shot for this. When Teal'c and Ishta are scoping out the tent after it's been shot up. That is actually filmed at night on location, which was, if you go back, like Stargate never does that because it throws off their schedule. It's expensive and stuff. So they did do that for this episode.
Yep. Setting up all the lights and everything. That's added cost that they really don't want to spend.
Yeah, they did say that whenever they would go to Robert C. Cooper or Brad Wright and say, hey, we're going to have this wedding and it's going to be off world. And then we're going to do this night shot. They would say, well, that's great. Let's have it in the SGC.
Yeah.
Because that's a fixed
But you can have a horse though.
Yeah, you can have a horse. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot happens in this episode. And that's the end of Moloch, I guess. And we don't see Ishta again. We do get some tension between Ishta and Teal'c a little bit. And a nice scene, I think, between Teal'c and Rya'c at the end. Is it true that we don't see Rya'c after this point?
Yeah, this is. I double checked because I was like, I don't remember seeing him again, which is kind of a bummer with where this season goes. Yeah. He would have been fitting to be in there, but I mean, he's off screen, just to left the frame or something.
Yeah.
We're going to do this thing. Where is Rya'c? Oh, he is safe. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that because I was not aware. But
of course, at this point, they're any day now we'll get we're done now. This is our last season, and they didn't. And they got season 9 and season 10.
Yeah, on the commentary track, they're talking about how good it would have been to bring back Ishta and the Hactol. Christopher Judge obviously would have wanted to write another episode to make it kind of a trilogy, but it just never really happened.
Yeah.
But we do get kind of a good send-off scene between Teal'c and Rya'c where they discuss Rya'c's honeymoon plans. He's going to go to the same place for his honeymoon that Teal'c took. What was her name?
Rya'c.
Rya'c, yes.
Yep.
And then there's a weird joke that I didn't get.
Some ritual about needing a sharp knife or something like that. And
a bris or something. I don't know.
Yep.
But yeah, so and then I guess that is the last we see of Rya'c, the Ishta and the Hactol.
And of course Teal'c gets the smoochy Ishta, so.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
The last scene is he gets to kiss Jolene Blaylock again.
Yeah. It's good to be the writer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny how the 2 episodes he wrote, he gets her involved. And gets to kiss her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think in the rest of this series we see Teal'c have any kind of a romance or anything, so we can just kind of headcanon that they're still dating. They're or long distance, I guess, at this point.
Yep. Sounds about right.
But we do get some cool action. Rya'c is training with the staff, and Rya'c gets to coach him, and then Teal'c at one point lashes together two Jaffa staff weapons so he can kind of like run through and do the not really dual wielding, but just like blasting it. And I guess that was Robert C. Cooper's idea. He thought that would be cool for Teal'c to do that. So it was kind of cool. It makes you wonder like why they haven't done that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. How many times have they, known that they're surrounded by Jaffa and not just do that and sit there and spin around with the two of them start shooting?
Or you could put like 3 or 4 of them together like a giant asterisk or something. I don't know.
That might be a little hard to hit the triggers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point. You only have 2 hands. But yeah, so it was I like I said, I didn't really remember this episode, so it was better than I remember it. But yeah, I'm glad we got to see the Hactyl again and Ishta because I didn't remember that we had seen them.
I knew we'd that they came back at least once, but I couldn't remember how many times. And of course, now they'll be. I think they're the kind of thing where every once in a while they get mentioned or something like that, just as an offhand. Kind of like Rya'c usually is. Oh yeah, we just heard from Rya'c. He just dialed us up and told us what's going on. That kind of deal.
All right. Any final thoughts on this, Father Cory?
No. Still, it's an okay episode. Like I said, wasn't my favorite, but it was okay.
What about you, Jeff?
No, nothing more. I think we just didn't mention that the whole kind of thing kicks off because Rya'c wants there's this ritual that the bride Jaffa has to bow before her husband, and Curran says, I'm not going to do that. We're going to be an equal, and that's what kind of starts the whole. The Hactyl don't want to be involved because they're disrespected and they feel they're equal warriors to the other Jaffa and stuff. So, and that's where that reference to the Rya'c at the end saying, well, perhaps some traditions are should be left in the past. And Teal'c has kind of a funny line of, well, one day perhaps I'll be as wise as you. Just kind of putting on his son there.
Good.
I did really like that line. Yeah, that was a really good line.
Yeah, but other than that, no, overall, like I said before, I enjoyed this one, and you get to see a horse, and yeah.
If you are going to have the Hactyl on, you have to have the horses. I think that's the deal there. Great. Well, we did have some other languages for this one. In French, and unfortunately I didn't review the pronunciation for this one beforehand, but we'll say discords, which is discords, because there's a lot of arguments and stuff. So that was I thought it was very like discord, that's very cool. That's what's going on. And then in German we get Die Vertreibung, which is the expulsion.
Oh.
So I don't know who's being expulsed or what, or
from their planets, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It's weird, but it's very German. So thank you, thank you, Germany, for that. And then in our feedback, we do have 2 comments about our show on the SG1 episode Affinity. Flying Car 100 writes, and this is because there is a comment in that episode about the History Channel, I think, and aliens. Flying Car 100 writes, was the History Channel showing real history when this episode aired, or had they moved on to the aliens by then? And
I think they were starting to show some of the alien stuff, just like a one-off once in a while during like a sweeps week or something like that.
Yeah, they had a show called Ancient Discoveries, which was airing at this time, and it was kind of the was there a civilization that existed before our current, understanding of human civilizations and stuff? So, and who taught those people? But it wasn't the Ancient Alien show was still a few years off at that point. Right. And then author Paul Leone, a friend of the show, on the same episode writes, a good episode. I enjoy the Teal'c off-base episodes more than most, I think. But this one is only memorable for the casting, in my opinion. And just an aside there that Erica Durance is, let's see if I get this right. So Jeff Judge is Christopher Judge's brother. Erica Durance is Jeff Judge's sister-in-law, which would make her Christopher Judge's brother's sister-in-law. So I don't know how that works, but he continues, I'm suddenly nervous what you will all say about my beloved Prometheus Unbound. So that episode is coming up, I think, in the next few weeks. And that's, I think we get introduced to some new characters there as well.
All I could think of is when you're trying to do the familial relations.
Yeah.
So what does that make us? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I do like Prometheus Unbound. I enjoy that one.
I do remember that episode. I didn't remember the title, but I read a synopsis and I was like, oh yeah, it's that episode. So I definitely think we'll have something to talk about when we get there. But at the moment, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create Secrets of Stargate, including Kyle M., Jim B., Simon R., Gregory F., and Joe K. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows on StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Please be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or find our video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. And to find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. We'll be back next time with the next episode of Stargate Atlantis, Home. Until then, Father Cory, thank you for joining us and sharing the secrets of Stargate.
Thank you, Victor.
And thank you, Jeff Haecker.
Thanks, Victor.
Once again, I'm Victor Lambs. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest. And remember, I can see why one must rehearse these events. And these podcasts, too.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?